Hi, this is Zeona McIntyre, and you are listening to Invest in Denver. Today, we're going to get into a conversation about MTRs. Don't know what that is yet? It's okay. Listen in.
I have no idea what that is, Yona. I'm so excited for this because I am just in the blank. And I have your book right here, the 30-day stay book. And I'm really excited to get into
Ooh.
it and see the ins and outs of what the heck an MTR is.
All
Of
right.
course, like before we get right into that, I'm curious just to get to know you a little bit better and understand like that third dimension to Ziona. Where did you grow up and how did you end up in Denver?
Yeah, so I'm actually from Hawaii. I was born in Jamaica, which is a fun fact that a lot of people don't know. But we moved to Hawaii when I was 2.5. And yeah, I grew up there. And then I moved out to Colorado area. I'm actually a Boulderite. Don't tell
Hmm.
anybody. But yeah, I've been living here almost 11 years now. So massage school brought me out here, if you want to know.
Okay. I
Yeah.
did not know that. And what's interesting too is that a couple of my friends were out here last weekend and they wanted to go check out the Coors Brewery Tour. And the
Yeah.
HQ is over there and everything. And the moment that we said we were going over to Boulder right after Golden, those Goldenites were like, oh, Boulder? Oh my gosh. Almost like they were high and mighty on
Everybody has
this.
their own thing. So I thought it was
Is
just
there?
Boulder and Denver, but I guess it's Golden too. What a bunch of shits. All right, good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, is there some sort of beef going on? I kind of want to get the spill the tea here, Ziona.
I think the people in Golden can't afford to live here, and that's why. They would otherwise love to be here. No, I have no idea. I think all of these areas are equally amazing, and we all have like special bits to add. Boulder is so special because it's really tucked in the mountains. Golden has that too, and it's got the history of the mining town, but they
Hmm.
still don't have as much of a city. Maybe Boulder's city's the wrong word. I think they don't have as much of a main street and like a
Hmm.
downtown that I need, and that's why Boulder being a little bit bigger is the home for me.
Yeah, especially with Pearl Street, they got some really cool stuff down that street. Thrift stores. I mean, whatever. I mean, I'm sure you got so many other tucked away places that you enjoy, especially living in Boulder. You've been living there ever since, right? I mean, your
Hmm.
whole history has been in Boulder, yeah?
Yes, I'm a big traveler, but I've been here 11 years consistently. And every time I leave, I look around and go, okay, could I live in this place? And I just keep coming back to Boulder. So this is
Yeah.
it.
I
Yeah.
noticed that too, and this is something that I'd like to bring up with you later on in the podcast, is that every place that me and my wife travel to, we always consider it like, hey, if this is a place that we want to stay at, this is some place that we could probably invest in because we sort of have these higher standards of like where we want to
Hmm.
stay and hang out in. And if it's a place that we would like to stay, then surely other people would want to stay there as well. So maybe that's a criteria for your future STRs and MTRs, yeah?
I think that's actually really interesting, but I used to manage properties in 5 countries, and I found that properties abroad are really seasonal for rentals. And so I actually don't really get behind investing in other countries. I don't
Mm.
know. I think make your money here and then take it with you.
Uh-huh. And that is something I'd love to talk about as well, especially being the
Hmm.
nomad investor that you are. And I know we already dropped a couple of acronyms here, and just to enlighten everyone what STRs, LTRs, and what MTRs are, let's catch everyone up to speed. So do you mind defining those for us, Iona?
Yes. So LTR is long term rental. And so that's usually a year lease and it's unfurnished. Then an MTR is a mid or medium term rental. There's a couple of different terms around there, but it's just a 30 days plus rental. So
Hmm.
it doesn't really matter. It can be furnished, it can be unfurnished, but generally it is furnished. So I've just the other day heard about people doing them unfurnished, and I was like, how? That's crazy.
Yeah.
But if you're in an area where there's a lot of relocations, so this person was in Central Florida, a lot of people are moving to that area for jobs. Yeah, they'll move with their furniture and wait for a home to be built or something like that. So funny. You can do all the creative things. And then
Yeah.
yeah, a short-term rental is just under 30 days and furnished.
Gotcha. And so, like, this
Mhm.
MTR status is sort of this middle ground. But I guess before we get into this, the weeds of what MTR is, like, how do we actually work these things? Because me as a real estate agent here in the Denver community, everyone's talking
Yeah.
about them. It's almost like the newest craze of like the new strategy in investing. But I do want to hear a little bit more about your background because MTRs were not a
Sure.
thing when you first started. So how did
No.
you get started in real estate investing? It was almost like you tripped into it, yeah?
Yeah, it was really accidental. And so I moved here September 2011. I started my Airbnb journey in like August 2012. And so really just like fresh off the boat and started that. I got very lucky that a friend of mine told me about it in 2011 and he was living in New York City. He had recently gotten laid off of his job and was feeling really burnt out and wanted to go travel. And so he thought, maybe I'll just like rent out my place a month and go on an adventure. And he heard about Airbnb and decided to try it. After a month, it turned into 6 months, it turned into a year of travel. And he made $50,000 off of this apartment that he had
Oh
just
my
been
gosh.
renting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so after that, I was like, okay, I guess I should try this thing. Um, and it was super accidental. So I didn't know that I was going to take over my whole life. I just thought it was a little side hustle.
So that was what was your first property like? And I assume you kept investing in Boulder.
Yeah. So my first property was a property I was just renting. So kind of when my friend was telling me about this, I already was living in this two-bedroom apartment in Boulder near the college. And my roommate was going to college. And then she was deciding to move out at the end of the semester. And so I thought, okay, cool. Well, I already have her room furnished. That was a way that I was a little bit house hacking. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, she'll pay more if it's furnished. So I was already having her pay a majority of the rent. And then I thought, well, what if we could cover the whole rent with
Mhm.
Airbnb? And if it doesn't work, I'll just get another roommate. Like no real skin off my back, right? And it turned
Mhm.
out to be so good that I kind of was like, "Oh no, I need to go get another place. Like I want to rent out both rooms and I don't have any place to be."
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and with having a place that's furnished and having
Mhm.
someone live in there, you can charge a little bit extra just because you got the whole place decked out. They already have a mattress, linens, and things like
Yep.
that. How much more do you think you made with it being furnished versus it not being furnished?
Yeah, I don't know why, but these numbers are coming to my head. I think that half of the rent would have been like 550, something like that. And
Hmm.
then I think she was paying 750. And she
Okay.
was longer term. I think she was there a year. So
Yeah.
if you shorten the term and if you furnish, you can charge more, right? So if she was there less than a year, I could have charged her even more per month.
Yeah, and looking at quick numbers, right? If you're able to charge 200 bucks more per month over the course of a year, that's $2,400 that you made. And looking at the mattresses, maybe the decor and things like that, you've already paid for everything all in that one furnished room. And so any other year
Yeah.
after that, it's almost like the cherry on top. So I think you came out with the steal in that case. So with that being said, did you move out and maybe rent out the whole place to this next individual, or how did that work out?
Yeah, so that was 10 years ago as well. So I was charging $200 more, but nowadays that's probably 350 more or something like that, right? So
Mhm.
just kind of keep that in mind. And the cost of furniture back then was so much cheaper. Since inflation, it's been a lot more for furniture. I've noticed that because
Mhm.
we furnish so many places. The way I did it when I started is I was renting by the room. I don't do that anymore for multiple room properties. But I went from there and got a second property that I was also arbitraging. That's kind of what people call it now, where you're subletting on Airbnb. So I did that for about 2 years until I could afford my own place. And what's really cool about starting with Airbnb and just testing it out is that you learn the numbers. So even before you buy and you make that big commitment, it's like training wheels for being an investor because like my specific example is that I had a property that I had been renting out arbitrage for like a year and a half. And I would kind of stay there when I had to go between the two properties. But Sometimes I would be renting it. So it was like back and forth. But I knew that I would make between 1,700 and 4,000 a month on this property, depending on the
Wow.
season. And it was only costing me 1,100 a month with my utilities and my rent. It was just a little one bedroom apartment. And so when I went to go buy an apartment 5 minutes away, same kind of size, one bedroom, one bath, that one was only 950 a month with my
Mm,
HOA and everything. And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. So I know that I can make 1,700 to 4,000 a month easy. I've already been doing it." So it
mhm.
just makes it a lot less scary because otherwise I think every real estate purchase can be a little bit scary.
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned arbitrage, and I know you sort of glossed over it with subletting your current rental or the place that
Yeah.
you're renting at the moment, right? That's also becoming a hot topic nowadays too, with arbitraging, especially because with down payment, closing costs, realtor fees, I mean, that's on the seller side, but nonetheless, there's all these fees that get tacked on with purchasing a property. So, what
Yeah.
are some benefits with like perhaps going down your route of arbitraging and maybe like squash the rumors here and start. Let's see what the real facts are. Would you do it again? Start out.
I would do it again because it was really the only way for me to get started. So I think it's great to do temporarily. And some people make their whole career in arbitrage. But what I've learned now in 10 years of being a real estate investor is that money is made over time and it's made through equity. So it's made through appreciation that happens. And when you are arbitraging, you're only getting cash flow. So you
Hmm.
have a lot of the risk of the seasonality and of the landlord changing their mind or selling the property. There's a lot of risk there, but you don't get those big rewards that we make when things go up in value.
Hmm.
So while I think it's a great way to start, it's not a way to finish or continue in my mind.
Yeah, for sure. Me personally, I'm on my third house hack. I'm looking for my fourth, and I was struggling so hard with my first house hack that was over in San Diego, and it's such a high cost of living
Mhm.
area, really big mortgage and things like that. And at one point, me and my wife were thinking about selling it because we were just bleeding money on this place, like $600 a month on it. And it was just a struggle, just getting over that mental hurdle that, hey, this isn't just for the cash flow. This is for appreciation now. And we sort of did things
Yeah.
backwards where we bought the place in a very touristy, sought after area, and we saw the appreciation grow so quick, like $100,000 each year for the next 3 years. It was significant, you know? So now we're playing the cash flow game, trying to catch up
Yeah.
on that aspect of it. We're learning so much, and I feel like there's so many aspects of it of like owning property that people just don't realize, especially the tax benefits, deferrals, you know, loan pay down, cash flow, and things like that now that we've owned the property for so long. So, what I noticed
Yeah.
too about your portfolio, Ziona, is that you like to stick with smaller properties like one bed, one bath, or two bed, one bath, or things like that. And especially with like an apartment or a condo or a townhome or something like that, a lot of people are apprehensive with HOAs, but it seems like it's not scaring you. Why do HOAs not necessarily
No,
scare you?
I think that's just what I could afford when I started. And so I'm so familiar with that. I've been to probably 4 or 5 HOA board meetings where I'm defending Airbnb on behalf of myself or a client. So I am used to that. But I'm not afraid of them because if it's not in their rules and bylaws, they cannot enforce it. They might try, they might send you a cease and desist or something like that, but they can't enforce it unless they go through the process of rewriting those bylaws or rules. And you have to do that with a lawyer, and it can be $10,000 or more. And a lot of HOAs are really cheap. So I have found that they don't want to do that. So I'm not as worried about it. But now, especially because I'm doing 30 days plus, that's just not really a rule and it's not really a problem with many HOAs.
Love it. And that's something that I mean, we have to get into MTRs and why you're just transitioning so many of your STRs into MTRs. That's just a huge
Yeah.
benefit with it. But before that, there's one more piece that I do want to touch on is that in the book, The 30-Day Stay, co-authored by Sarah Weaver, you mentioned that you own a one-bed, single-family home in Colorado Springs that you operate as a short-term rental, but you met the
Yeah.
money partner on that deal in the Boulder Circus community. I thought that was such an
Yes.
interesting story, and you have to touch on that a little bit, especially like with finding a real estate partner in the circus community. Who would have ever thought about this? So, you mind telling that story a little bit
Yeah.
if it's interesting?
Well, I think just the circus community makes people like laugh. It makes it interesting for that respect, but
Yeah.
it's not any different than meeting someone in any hobby that you have. I think it was maybe 7 years ago. I was just getting out of a relationship. Is that long ago? I think so. And a friend said, "You're like so depressed, you're just like sad. You need a new hobby. Come with me to acro yoga." And so I went and I got super into it. And the next 2 years was just acro yoga all the time. And all my friends were there. And that was just my thing. And so naturally, when I was getting into real estate investing at the same time, I found people in that community. So I had actually three partners that I found at the circus center. Oh, that's pretty funny. Yeah. Yeah. And still today, some of my clients come from the circuit center. So yeah, it was a good place. Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, yeah, based on what you said, there's a partner in every facet, in every hobby that you can have.
Sure.
As long as they know, like, and trust you, they'll be willing to actually hear your story, what you have, and, how they can see that opportunity with them being partnered with you, especially in real estate too. Everyone loves to talk about real estate, so it's always a good conversation. But finally,
I think
yeah.
everyone we know likes to talk about real estate. Lots of people don't want to talk about real estate.
That
Let's
is
just
very
clear
true.
that up.
Yeah. Maybe I'm sticking around the same people over and over again, and I'm a little biased.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let me tell you one story about partnership too,
Yep.
is I've had a lot of partners over the years because that was one of the ways that I got creative and got financing because I couldn't for a long time. I think my first 6 deals I had to do creatively because I couldn't get a mortgage. My latest deal that I'm under contract on now, we close in like less than 10 days. Very excited.
Hmm.
I found these people on a Facebook group. So, you can find a partner anywhere. But basically, I was looking for somebody who's a wholesaler doing creative financing. And so I posted in a creative financing group. And this girl reached out to me and said, "It sounds like we have the house under contract that you want. I'm wondering if there's something to do about this. Like, I don't know if there's a partnership." So I talked to her and I looked at the house and I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I think one thing that's really cool about partnerships is you can negotiate anything you can dream of. I think a lot of people think, oh, well, partnerships are just 50-50. That's how it works. But it's really, what are you bringing to the table? What are they bringing to the table? So the way I negotiated this deal is they are actually bringing 100% of the deposit, closing costs, getting the loan in their name. So I don't have to give up a spot in my 10 loans. And then I am bringing half of the expenses for the furnishing. I'm flying out to do the furniture, and then I'm going to manage the home for the life of while we have it. So,
Mhm.
I mean, that might be 10 years of management that I'm signing up on. But what I have is this expertise in this MTR field, and they are brand new. And it's their first time investing out of state. So they were just really excited.
Hmm.
And I've already helped them a lot. So I think it's going to be a great, great partnership. But it is funny how you can find people anywhere.
No joke. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And where's this at? And it sounds like you have like a very systematized furnishing company as well. So let's lead into that once you tell me where it is exactly. Well, not the address, but
Yeah. Well, yeah. This was in Atlanta, so it's outside of the city limits so that we can short-term rent as well as MTR. And that's my secret sauce, is that I want a place that I can do both. Even though MTR is my primary strategy, that's really all what I want to do. I like having the ability to legally STR in the gaps. So if for some reason you've got a week available kind of randomly before the next longer guest comes, I want to be able to fill in those gaps as much as possible. So
yeah.
you're limited if you're not in an area that you can do that legally.
Awesome. And with people that are looking into the MTR and short-term rental space, I mean, I myself, I own an Airbnb, and The thing is that you never know when that next guest is coming. But let's say for a medium-term rentals, you might have like a 3-month lease, and then I'm wondering at what point do you start to look for that next person where they're staying for another 3, 6, 9 months, or even 12 months, right? And then let's say if they wanted to start on the first, but the lease ends, let's say 2 weeks before that, um, where do you find that next person, or at least at what point with the current lease do you find that next person? You know what I mean?
A bit. That was kind of a difficult explanation, but I think I know what you mean.
Okay, thanks.
Basically, a lot of people that do MTR that rent them, they don't usually have an end date right away. They have an idea, but they're starting, unless they have a contract and it's exactly the 13 weeks, but they may even extend. So a lot of times I get a tenant in and I just block the calendar until they've got an idea of an end date. Once they announce that, it could be months ahead, it could be just a couple of weeks ahead. I tell them I want at least 2 weeks to find a tenant. Then we start our hunt.
Yeah. Where are you finding these tenants?
Yeah, so the kind of lowest hanging fruit would be Airbnb and Furnished Finder. And Furnished Finder is a website primarily for medical professionals. You get a lot of traveling nurses, but it's become a little bit more of a household name. So now I'm seeing a lot more students and digital nomads, relocation. So it's getting really popular, which is great for us.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really good. And I heard that, especially, I think it was Stacy Stenega or some
Hmm.
other people. Yeah, she was mentioning that she gets a lot of her tenants from Facebook groups. I know she's a traveling nurse herself,
Yes.
and she is very active in those communities. So she's able to find some really good tenants that are used to, Furnish Finder or that situation to live in. So I'm sure there's
Hmm.
places everywhere where you can find those proper tenants to fill in those gaps. It's just
Yeah.
you gotta get in where you fit in, you know?
That's a good way to look at it. I think it's also just how much work do you want to put into it. So the lowest hanging fruit, Airbnb, people just book with you. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
really do anything.
Yeah.
The other ones take a little more effort. Furnish Finder, you have to reach out to the tenants, but you get a list of tenants. Then if you're on a Facebook group, you have to post regularly. So and then, communicate with people there. So it's just how many places do you want to keep track of and everything. I'm moving into a space of doing more corporate housing and using more of insurance contracts and clients that come through insurance companies. And so that's going to be a bit more work. It's a few more websites and but the payoff and the upside is a lot more.
Mhm.
So it all just depends, where do you want to start? How far do you want to go into this? How much time do you have to dedicate to it? So, yeah,
Yeah,
different for everyone.
no joke. And yeah, you just got to find out where you or how much effort do you want to put into it, and the more effort usually just leads to better results. But I guess going to a
Mm.
more basic level of like, why even medium term rentals? Why is this such a hot topic nowadays? Why would someone do that and not squeeze as much income out of a property with short term rentals or have that passivity of a long term rental? Why something in between, you know?
So you can actually make more with a medium term rental, and that's the thing people are starting to discover,
Mm,
or maybe it's just the ease of it. I'm not quite sure what's getting people so excited. But that side of making a lot more, insurance contracts pay the most. So, say somebody has a fire in their house and they need to get out of it for a few months while it's being rebuilt, or there's a water loss or flooding, any kind of thing, busted pipes. There's a lot of reasons why people need to leave their house for a while. So, the insurance company pays to put them in a similar property, and that's when you can make a lot more money. So, an example is a friend of mine in Atlanta where his home is a 5 bedroom, 3 bath. His overhead with his utilities is about 2,500 a month. And he has a 6 month insurance contract guest in there who's paying 79.50 a
no
month.
way.
So he is making over $5,000 a month in cash flow.
Wow.
One house.
That's insane. So how does one get into these
Yeah.
conversations with the insurance company?
Yeah, so there are a couple things that put you in a better position for that, and one of them is having larger homes.
Hmm.
So generally, these smaller homes, 1 and 2 bedrooms, it seems as though a lot of the hedge funds bought up a lot of those and they have more direct connections with the insurance companies, but they don't have a lot of the big inventory houses. And if somebody's got a family and they have a fire, they can't just all squeeze into a one bedroom apartment. They've got to go be in a 5 bedroom house or something like that. So they're putting them in similar sized properties, and the bigger the home, the less competition there is.
Hmm.
So the home that we're buying now is 4 bedrooms. Like you had mentioned earlier, all my properties, well, I have one that's 3 bedrooms, but they're all really 1 to 2 bedrooms. And the reason behind that is that it always really worked well for me for Airbnb, and I was too impatient. I just bought a home as soon as I could afford one because I was so excited about it. And so now I'm thinking differently. But it all depends on your strategy.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned that. And a lot of people would not even consider, let's say, a 4 or 5 bedroom place just because of how much you have to furnish it, these considerations with like how,
Tell me about it.
no joke, right? And maybe that's something we can
It's a
touch on a little.
lot of furniture. Yeah.
How do you estimate
Well,
something
I'm
like
I'm
that?
literally doing it right now. So I think I finished yesterday and it was like 4 days
Oh
of
my
like looking at
gosh.
art and pillows and things. And I have a furnishing list already, but it was because this home I wanted to make it industrial modern, which is like a certain style. And so everything had to be a little bit different so the artwork is right and the colors are right. Dear God, it's a lot of work.
So you have that eye, that design eye at the same time, and it's not just you simply furnishing it. Like there's got to be some sort of attitude or theme to it. Is that something you work out with the
Yeah.
clients, or do you recommend certain things for certain areas? What do you think?
Yeah, so I don't have a furnishing company, but I do have a furnisher that I work really closely with. And for me, I think a home has a certain style on its own, right? So that has to do with the construction and maybe the way it was renovated. And so pulling from that, I can say, well, okay, this home, we could probably go 3 different directions. Let's go this way. You can also do something like sports themed or national parks themed. People do different themes like that, but specifically you just want a design that is cohesive
Hmm.
because it's really weird when you're in a space and like this is farmhouse and that's industrial and this is it's just too many colors and ideas and things clashing.
Hmm.
So yeah, I've learned a lot about design recently because I was not as good at it before.
And it almost feels like a
I look back at
Frankenstein.
my
Yeah.
houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're looking back at your houses and you're like, oh, well, I can improve on these things. And maybe it just gets better over time. And maybe this is something that you might have
Sure.
seen with like, hey, with these certain upgrades. And that's another thing that I'd like to ask you too is with your travels. Now, I know you're a big
Hmm.
traveler here, and we'll go back to medium-term rentals, but now that we're sort of on this topic of
Sure.
like being inspired or seeing certain amenities and designs and things like that, but with the places that you stay at, like whether it's internationally or even locally, you stay at Airbnbs or other furnished finder places, right? Medium term rentals. So, do you
Yeah.
get a lot of inspiration from these places, or maybe what's the ratio or percentage of that happening that you bring along those ideas to your own places?
Yeah, that's probably true. I There are some really nice places that I've stayed. Like we were just in Colombia. I was there with my designer and there was so much beautiful tropical themed stuff that we got to be around and that area is really affordable, so we were staying in really nice places. But usually, like right now going to Atlanta, we're staying in an Airbnb for like a day before we are all set up in our house. And I got like just one of the cheaper ones,
Mhm.
right? So I'm not that inspired. I'm looking at it going like, "Oh man, you could do this better, you could do that." But like I'm not going to say anything, so I'm just like, "Okay."
That's funny.
Yeah.
No,
So sometimes.
yeah. Okay, good. I'm sure you could probably have it as a write-off expense too, like for research and development.
Yeah.
I'm staying at this one spot, right?
Well,
I'm
yes,
not a
I do that
CPA.
anyway, but I'm just cheap, man. I'm just cheap.
Love it. And so let's go back to medium-term rentals and more specifically, let's say in the Denver area or greater metro Denver area. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of people that I'm working with are seeing just the upkeep, the systems needed for Airbnb, more specifically short-term rentals, right? But where
Yeah.
does that medium term rental fit in terms of like upkeep and maybe it's a little bit more passive? How does that work? I know you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, it can be a lot easier because the average tenant is staying for 3 months. And a lot of times, these tenants that get a 13-month contract that are maybe a travel nurse, they'll extend if they like your place and if they like living in this town. And in Colorado, it seems like people are really excited to be in Denver, to be in Boulder, because a lot of times they're coming from the Midwest or East Coast or places where it maybe is just not as nice. And so they're having a lot of fun and they end up extending. So if you just have 2 to 4 tenants a year instead of a new tenant every 3 days, it's a lot easier. It's a lot less cleaning, a lot less expenses.
Yeah. And what are some things that you would put into a home that is furnished, uh, that's different from a short-term rental versus a medium-term rental, if any?
Yeah. Yeah, with a medium term rental, I'm building out the kitchen a lot more. That's like my main focus because a short term rental, most of the time, they don't even use the kitchen. They're going out to eat all the time and maybe they use it for a little bit of breakfast or something. But I like to make sure, okay, do they have a colander? Do they have measuring cups? Some of my places have, what are those little things go crock pots, right? Because they might be working all day and then they come home and they have a stew ready, right? So there's just things like that that you think about building out a little bit more.
I gotcha. And I've heard this too, where maybe they have a little bit more cleaning supplies as well. You know, if you have a broom, maybe like a mop as well. Is there anything in terms of
Yeah.
that where like it feels more like at home, right? You kind of want to take care of your own space,
Yeah.
especially if you're staying in there for 3 to 6 months. Is there anything on the cleaning side that you leave in medium-term rentals versus short-term rentals?
Well, I leave all the cleaning stuff out of both, just encouraging them any way that I can,
Good
but
point.
it doesn't always work. But a main difference is I really make sure to have blackout curtains in all of the rooms. And that's because a lot of nurses end up being night workers, especially when they're kind of new, right? I don't know if nursing has ranking, but it seems like the travel nurses a lot of times get the not as good jobs.
Hmm.
So, yeah, they're being paid more and then they have to deal with all the junky work.
Yeah, no joke. And they need their sleep. So having those blackout curtains, it's just
Yeah.
an added bonus for them to like, okay, you know what? I could probably sleep 8 hours thanks to all these amenities. So it's really good that you're considering all
Yeah.
that, especially with the different types of people that are staying in there. And speaking of which, I'd like to hear more of like the different types of people that have been staying in your medium term rentals. I mean, I know you mentioned traveling nurses and people working with insurance so that they can rehab their home. Is there anyone else that you'd like to include?
Yeah, there's so many. Digital nomads have been a huge uptick since COVID. So before COVID, 7% of the US workforce could work remotely. And now, after COVID, it's about 42%.
Wow.
And even though some companies are going to call their employees back or maybe be less, I don't know, away from the office, they still have so much more flexibility and it's not going to be everybody coming back. There's just been a fundamental shift in how work is happening in the world. So I think that's really helping us. We've got a lot of those kinds of tenants. There are a lot of people that are living in Airbnbs now full time, which is a really cool trend where they're like, okay, we're going to go try out Austin for 3 months and then we're going to go to Denver and then Hawaii or whatever. So yeah, you're really seeing a different style of life. And then there's still business travelers that are coming for extended stays. So somebody who maybe works at a Google in San Francisco, but then they want to come out to the Google campus that we have here in Boulder,
Mhm.
right? So they'll come and work here for a couple of months or do a special project or something like that. So we have that for research centers, universities. So yeah, it's there's like limitless tenants. There's just such a big pool. People are surprised.
Yeah, and maybe this is so early on in the medium-term rental lingo or like this craze word. I mean, ever since the book came out, I feel like so many people have been talking about it so much more. Maybe it's just me in the community. I don't know. But with
Yeah.
that being said, like you do you consider yourself a digital nomad as well?
Yes, I think so. I do have a home, so I'm not just constantly on the move. Unlike Sarah, who co-authored the book with me, she doesn't have a home.
Mhm,
So she is always going from place to place. I think her default is her parents' home,
mhm,
but she's not there all the time. For us, we come back to our home a lot, but we have the luxury of being able to work from anywhere. My husband and I will just pick up and go work from the mountains for a couple of weeks and go snowboarding, go work from Hawaii and be with family. So, yeah, I definitely take part in the digital nomad craze.
Yeah, and with that, I feel like that also stemmed from Tim Ferriss's 4 Hour Work Week, where he is just the new rich, quote unquote, right? Where people are just valuing
Hmm.
time over money in almost every aspect these days. I know I myself, time is the greatest currency here, you know? That's the one currency we'll never get back. So any way that I can start to travel more and just not have to be bogged down to a certain spot, that's one way that I'd like to move on with. And yeah, I'm not sure where I'm trying to go with that, but if someone were,
Great.
thanks for following along. So if someone were to be a digital nomad, let's say for
Yeah.
having that 6 months, they want to just go out and about and they already have that remote job in place. Maybe starting off small. Let's say like if they just wanted to plan it, for example, like budgeting, which resources should this person research in order to understand maybe like flight costs, lodging costs, and maybe even food, like just the bare necessities, right?
Wow, that's so interesting. I haven't really thought about that. There's so much hacking available in the travel space. So, one thing we take advantage of is credit card hacking, and I do it at the bare minimum. I mean, there are people that get super into it and study and get all the latest cards, and they may have 20 to 40 cards rotating at any time. But from getting credit card bonuses, you can get miles and points that can help you get to different places.
Mhm,
So I've definitely taken part with lots of free flights, upgrades, and hotels occasionally, but I'm just not really a hotel
mhm,
person. So that's a great thing to learn about. And then there are certain websites where you can get cheap flights. So I think Scott's Cheap Flights is somebody who has like a blog, and he notifies people that are subscribers about cheap flight deals or maybe errors that were posted when people can take advantage of it really fast.
mm,
So that's a great resource to have. I never really budget out food
mhm,
cost. Generally, it's nice when you can go for longer periods of time to more affordable places. A lot of people do what we call geo arbitrage, where you go and you live for longer periods of time in these cheaper places, and then you have your salary from home that's still a high salary,
right.
right? And you can house hack your home by doing Airbnb. So you can even house hack your short term, or you can short term rent your primary home, which is what we do, so that we don't have to really pay a mortgage all year.
Mhm.
So we just make our big chunks in the periods that we're gone, and that covers us the whole year round.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that
Yeah,
that you don't have to live there all 365 days in order for you to, take advantage of, let's say,
qualify.
yeah, exactly, for sure. And yeah, and you being a real estate agent yourself, I mean, you're always looking at properties, and whether that's in Colorado or maybe you're still in Boulder, where are you looking these days? Is there a certain market? Because I know you're in like several different states now, but is there something that you're looking at right now?
Yeah, so I'm in 4 states now and about to be five. But what I'm learning about the MTR space, even though I wrote this book on it, there's so much more that I'm learning. It's still really a new niche in real estate that I'm really dedicating this year to like double down with education. But what I've been gathering is that I want big homes, and I don't currently have that in my inventory, so I need to go buy them. And then the second thing is I want to go deep in one market so that when I have relationships with maybe a recruiter for a hospital or someone who's at an insurance company, I can say, hey, I've got 5 properties here. I can always help you
Mm,
out. And if they want to give me a 6 month client, I'll go find a
mm.
property. You know what I mean? So I need to consolidate a bit. So I am in the process over the next couple of years of probably selling some of my underperforming properties and trying to get everything into one area. So right now I'm in Atlanta. We're going to see how that performs with this first property. And if it's great, I intend to have five by the end of the year. So we'll see.
Awesome. And with this specific location, I know it was sort of in the outskirts of Atlanta, but with all these different states and
Mhm.
all these different locations that you can choose from, where do you look for, let's say within a certain radius, maybe like a 5 mile radius? Is there like other hospital complexes? Is there a university? Is there anything in particular that you're seeing from these bigger metropolitan cities that you're looking for?
Yeah, there's a few things that I look for. So I want to be close to hospitals if I can. I like being near universities as well. So sometimes there's kind of a cluster of universities. Atlanta has a lot of stuff downtown, so being just within a reasonable driving distance of that is helpful. Atlanta also has the whole film industry. So they're the second largest film industry from Hollywood. And a lot of filming is multi month,
Mm.
right? It can be like a 3 month stay. And so even though I might not be hosting the superstars, I can be hosting all the crew, right? There's a lot of crew that works on these film sets. So yeah, you never quite know, but I wanted to be in a pool with a lot of opportunity. The other thing is being close to an airport. The other day I was talking to a potential client, and she was saying that she was looking at maybe investing near O'Hare in Chicago because she heard from somebody to meet up that surprisingly people will stay longer term right there just to be close to the airport. So you never really know.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a few different levers to look at.
That is interesting. Well, I'm glad that you're giving some of this knowledge that you have already to us people that haven't done
Yeah.
MTRs yet. And another thing too, a lot of people that are in the short-term rental space that might be thinking about going to the medium-term rental space, the status of superhost is almost coveted at this point. And I know you're a recent superhost now, right?
I am. I'm feeling so excited. I haven't seen any uptick,
Okay.
in my opinion. Superhost is letting me down. But yeah, I just think it's really cool to have that. And for many, many years, I would be co-hosting or managing for other people, and I would get their profile to Superhost, but I could never do it with mine. And what ended up happening is that there's a few different things you get rated on. You get rated on value, cleanliness, guest communication, but one of them is location.
Mhm.
And a lot of times I would buy in gentrifying areas that weren't quite up to a standard that people wanted yet, right? They were always safe, but maybe for whatever reason they were a little bit junky. And in that, I got a lot of appreciation. So it worked out, but I didn't get Superhost for a really long time. So yeah, I'm very proud to have it now after probably this is year 11 as a Airbnb host. So that's
I
ridiculous.
think that's
Yeah.
something to say too, where like you don't need to have superhost status in order for you to be successful in
No,
this industry, you know? And a lot of people
you don't.
see that. I think another criteria as well is like you need to have a certain amount of bookings within that quarter or whatever that is. And maybe that's another reason why, where like
Yeah.
a lot of people that want to go into the medium term space, like they have one booking over 1 month or 3 months or whatever that might be. So,
Yeah,
re
6 months, 9 months.
exactly.
So it doesn't really work.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe that superhost
Yeah.
status is not, it should not be put on a pedestal. I mean, it's nice to have, it's like a medal that you have, a sticker on your website, but it's not like you have to achieve this in order for, like you said, to have better occupancy or more nightly rates or things like that. So, yeah, either way, it's cool.
Well, they do say that Superhosts get 23% more bookings. So I am hoping to see that. But so far, I haven't really noticed anything different.
Yeah, your listing does go above the fold, which I realize too. I'm a superhost as well. So, kudos to getting
Mm.
it. It's not easy. So, nice job in getting that. Congrats. With that with
Thanks.
that being said, Ziona, last thing I wanted to touch on is your social media presence. I feel like you've definitely exploded in your like, I don't know, the information that you give. There, you have so much good experience that a lot of people need to hear,
Mm.
especially getting into the real estate industry and investing. What made you really want to consider like, yeah, maybe social media is the best way to get my word out to as many people as possible, especially my followers, my audience, and things like that. And how has it been?
That's so interesting. I don't think I remember a specific moment where I made this
Mm,
decision. I think it's just do social media or you'll be left
mm.
behind, right? It's just a part of it. It feels necessary these days. But one thing that has really surprised me with social media recently is just the power of it. And I mean, I guess that should be obvious, but my profile, I have 14,000 followers on the grand scheme of things. It's still pretty small compared to a lot of friends I have that maybe have 50,000 or 100,000, something like that. But even so, I can post a seller finance deal or something that's off market and I can have 10 buyers in 24 hours.
Wow.
So it is pretty incredible what I'm seeing now, even with a smallish presence.
Yeah, that's really interesting too. And I myself, like, I'm trying to become a little bit more consistent with it, better quality stuff, more
Yeah.
informational, especially as a real estate agent and house hacker and investor in Denver. There's a lot of people that sort of look to you, and myself included, with these specific, let's say that seller financing deal that you posted not too long ago. It's like, oh my gosh, like Zeona's
Yeah.
just putting this out into the open. Like now I'm benefiting from being an audience member of hers. So if anything, it makes people
Yeah.
want to stay and listen to your voice more of like, if she can provide these deals and just give it out to the public, like imagine what she's able to do with me if were to be in her inner circle, you know, and you can do a lot with that presence too. I'm sure you've seen
Yeah.
from like Brandon Turner and, you know, David Green, the whole Bigger Pockets crew, they're definitely doubling down on the whole social media presence. So yeah, just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. It is a lot of work and definitely the consistency can be hard. So, yeah, but there's something interesting. Last year, I was in a luxury real estate agent course that this lady puts on from California, and she's kind of nationwide, but a lot of her agents are in California. And she has a couple tiers. Her, like, to get to her second tier, you have to be, I think, making 800 or 900,000 a year.
Wow.
And then she even has a higher tier where people sell like 100 million or something. So in there, I was kind of, getting to know different people around there. And I saw that the main difference on the lower tier to the upper tier people, and not even the super high tier, just the middle one, is that people didn't have a presence on social
Hmm.
media.
Hmm.
So there is a huge influx of clients and potential leads and just opportunities that happen on social media. If you're gonna get to that bigger space, you need to know that.
Wow. I love that insight. That's great. If anything, it just
Mm,
pushes me more to do the whole social media thing, but I'll digress. Nonetheless, like thank you so much for your medium term rental experience and aficionado in this whole
yeah.
space. Amazing. So, Ziona, is there anything you want to tell the audience of like how to reach you, what they should look for, and things like that?
Yeah, so if you're interested in the book 30 Day Stay, you can get it at Bigger Pockets. So it's biggerpockets.com/30 day stay. And if you use my name Ziana, you can get 10% off. So that's great. And then I have a website, Zeona McIntyre, and Instagram is probably the best way. So you can look me up, Zeona McIntyre.
Fantastic. And you do have a podcast as well with the one and only Craig Kurloff as well.
Yes. Yes, yes. Sorry. The Investify podcast. So, yes, go check that out because yeah, Craig is your big daddy for the real estate team, the Phi team dad.
That's right.
I love it.
Yeah, and you guys host a really great podcast. I know you guys just hit 100,000 downloads not too long ago, and what was it? The 100th
Hmm.
episode. I mean, you guys are making moves, and all guiding
Yeah.
people towards the path to financial independence. So really good stuff. Make sure you listen to that podcast as well right after this one. So thank you so much, Ziana. Of course, get her book, 30 Day Stay. I am a true believer in medium-term rentals now. And thanks for listening to the Invest in Denver podcast, hosted by yours truly, Ian Jimeno, Fight Team Production. And thanks again so much, Ziona, for hanging out with me.
Bye.